Today, I want to talk about transitions. And transitions are something that I think our culture nearly altogether forgets. And yet, it is such an important part of change, growth, and evolution because it represents the bridge from the old to the new. It's where the death and rebirth cycle meet, right? Is the transition. And we tend to look at things linearly when actually we're cyclical beings. Nature is cyclical. So in theory, we're always going through some kind of transition. But obviously, there are certain markers that really represent transition. So it could be coming out of an old relationship, going into a new relationship, leaving an old job, starting a new job, moving house, moving country. But it's also moving through different phases of our life, right? So we've really lost the ritual of rite of passage from childhood to adolescence to adulthood to all the various phases of our lives. So I want to talk about how transition is really important, both if you're creating internal change around your identity or external change with certain aspects of your life, and how when we really are present and aware with the transition and through the transition, it means that what we're growing into, we're walking into it with presence and awareness, which has a profoundly positive effect on what we are moving into. So that's what we're going to dive into today. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. So I think there are many reasons why we don't like transitions so much, or we don't pay so much attention to them. One is, I think we live in a society now that is just go, 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 forward, forward, forward. And it's like chasing the carrot, right? And always needing to get to the next point and the next point. So there's a little bit of a lack of presence in the present moment, shall we say. That is one of the hardest things for human beings, is just to be here now. And I think most especially in these times where everything is so fast moving, right? But I also think another reason why we don't pay attention to transitions is because they can be uncomfortable. They are, even if you're moving towards something that's exciting, transition can still be uncomfortable because there's an element always of letting go, which means there might be an element of grief. And we don't like to do grief, we don't like discomfort. We go to distraction and to numbing and to anything else but feeling the feeling. And actually, the only way that we ever grow and evolve and alchemize and transmute things that we are working on within ourselves that we might find challenging or hard or painful is we've got to feel them. That's the only way. We have to feel the feelings. So transition is such a key moment of processing our feelings. And of course, the most obvious one that we see is when people come out of relationships. You have the people that go straight into the rebound. They don't want to feel the feelings. They go straight into another relationship. Or they go into, whatever kind of behavior that is all about distraction. It's very difficult and a very masterful path to really just stay with the feeling and stay with the grief. And the thing is that even when there's a decision that is really right, so I'll give you a personal example. For years, I've been wanting to move, not just house, but just move to a different area. Because as you've heard me say in previous podcasts, this chapter of my life has come to an end. I've really gone as far as I can go with it. And in order for me to grow and evolve, it's very clear that I have to move on. And it's been a challenging process because I kept on running into dead ends, and it's been hard. Let's just put it that way. It's been really, really hard, but it's been something that I've really been wanting, and I've had to go through everything that you have to go through in order to get to that place. And actually, the wisest teaching of it all has been let go of the resistance. Let go of the resistance, allow what is here, trust what is to unfold and just soften into it. We try too hard, we get in our own way. I did a podcast on that one, so you can go back to listen to that one in greater detail. But finally, change arose the moment I let go and the moment that I really looked at my belief systems. It literally, I kid you not, from one day to the next changed. And this is where quantum change can really happen, because it really is, like, you can think it's nothing is happening and you're having to be so patient, sometimes for years. And then I tell you what a difference a day makes. It literally can change from one day to the next. But here I am in the midst of moving into a great adventure, which is very exciting, also very overwhelming, because I'm stepping into a huge unknown. I'm wrapping up my house. I'm essentially going to be living out of a suitcase and be nomadic. And there's a part of me that's like, wow, it's finally happening. I can't believe it. Years of wanting this, and it's finally happening. And then yesterday, the camper van that I had that's been sitting outside broken for years, hasn't been used for years, but has a lot of memories. It got picked up by the guy that bought it and is going to fix it up. And it really made me emotional. I was like, wow. And I'm packing up the house, and certain elements feel really exciting and certain elements bring up things. And so it becomes emotional. And this is the thing, is that even if we're moving towards something that's new and exciting, that feels better, that feels right, what we're letting go of are memories and our former self, our former life. And if we just plow ahead without acknowledging, and actually the most beautiful place that you can come to is gratitude, but acknowledging where we've been, what we've gone through. I can say the memories in this house are very mixed, some of them very painful, some of them very, a profound internal shift that I went through. And sometimes what I had to go through was really, really difficult. But I can look back on it and really pull out all of the teachings and the wisdom, even through the pain, even through the suffering, even through the boredom, even through the hard times. And that's the beauty of life, as we can look back and it's easier to reflect, right? We're not in the heat of the emotion of whatever we were going through. So we can reflect and we can pull out, we can draw out the bits of wisdom. And that's a really important part of the transition. But part of it is that, we're grieving what was. We're letting go of sweet memories. We're letting go of who we were. We're letting go of what we thought life would look like. That is a big one. And I know I've done an episode on that before, because that as I grow older, I recognize as one of the biggest, if you can master that one, that is really powerful. And I will just throw in again, because I think it's such a brilliant quote by Buckminster Fuller. You have to be willing to get rid of the life you planned in order to receive the life that is awaiting you. It is such a profound perspective, right? So when we're moving through change and transition, we're going to be faced with looking at our past. It's just inevitable, right? Because we're clearing through things. We're moving away from, again, whether it's a relationship or a job or a house or a country, we're letting go of a former life. Now, the illusion or the funny cosmic joke is all we ever have is the now. But we tend to relate to our lives as what happened in the past and what will happen in the future. And it's very hard to just be here now, right? So transition requires letting go of all of those things. And sometimes letting go is a relief. Like, I can finally let go of that. I can finally step away from that, and whatever the dynamic was or the person that I was within that. And also it's letting go of sweet moments and sweet memories. And, they just go to memory land. It's okay. It's all just etheric anyway, right? But sometimes things, people, places, they remind us of how we felt and who we were. And that's the pain of letting go. right? Because we're attached to the external, tangible, touchable thing, right? So it's really important that if you're moving through transition and you're reflecting on the past, great. Process it, feel it. If you have to cry, cry. Could be tears of joy and relief, could be tears of sadness. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. You don't even have to label it. Just feel what is arising within you as you are going through transition. It's the same for what you're moving into, which anything that we're moving into the future is going to be unknown. There's the illusion that we have control of what is to come, right? It could be, well, I know what house I'm moving into. I have my flights booked. I know where I'm traveling to. I, met the man or woman. And so, we have the subject that we're focusing on. But actually, we have no idea what is going to come and what that experience is going to be like. And a lot of the reason why people are afraid of creating change is because they're afraid of how they're going to feel in the unknown. Most especially, they're afraid that they're going to be scared, fear of fear, that they're going to get hurt, that they're lost, they're confused, they don't know, they're going to be abandoned, they're going to be rejected. What if it doesn't work out? Worst case scenario. We do tend to go into a little bit of negative thinking, but even if you go into positive thinking, and I don't like to use these terms normally, but just for lack of the better term, it's still always going to be an unknown. And the more that we try to project and control what the future is going to look like, the more suffering we create. So the beauty of the wisdom of transition is it's really an invitation to be here now. Be here now. I was listening to, I don't know who said this, that anxiety is about the future and depression is about the past. I don't like to categorize things too much, but it is an interesting perspective. And the reason why I'm dropping it in right now is because when we're going into something new, there can be anxiety around that. Even if it's exciting, even if it's a wonderful thing, there can be just the anxiety of, I don't know what that is. I'm not familiar with it. And we like familiarity. Familiarity makes us feel safe. The depression part that they say is related to the past is when we're holding on. I mean, that's a vast topic, so I don't want to go too much into the label of it. But just in relationship to this saying, it's more when we're still relating to the past and we don't want to let it go. Or we're disappointed with where we thought we would be. So we go back to the past and go, oh, well, when I was a teenager, I thought I would be at this point in my life in my 20s. And when I was in my 20s, I thought I would be at this point in my life. And when I was in my 30s, and it's the way that we try to control the way that life is going to go. Again, I go back to Buckminster Fuller's quote, right? Get rid of the life that you planned because it's not going to be that. And that just keeps us in this perpetual loop of projecting into the future or reflecting back on the past going, oh, it's not that. It's not what I thought it would be. So transitions are a really wonderful, invitation to say, come here now, be here now, stay here now. Well, stay, I mean, be in this present moment and just stay with what is. It's coming back to the isness of existence. Just come back with what is in this moment and feel it. So when you're going through the breakup, when you're going through packing up the house, when you're going through packing up your suitcase to go travel, whatever the transition is, you might be packing up things in an office, right? Or an old career. I want to invite you to really just be with it and go, okay, what do I need to let go of and grieve over? What can I simply just let go of as a weight that I no longer need to carry? What have I learned from this experience, now that I can look back without emotional attachment in the same way of when I was in the moment of the heat of the emotion or the struggle or the challenge or whatever it was that led you to this point of change. What can I learn from it? What is the wisdom? What is the teaching? What brought me to this point of change and allowed for it to happen and move through into what will be a new beginning? This is the movement of transition. Transition creates the movement from the old into the new. But it's kind of like a portal, right? You move into this in-between space. And the only way that we can move into and through transition into the new beginning is we have to allow the old to be let go of, to die. We have to allow the death to happen. That's why people can go straight into another relationship, but if they haven't grieved and let go of and processed their past relationship, guess what? You bring all of that baggage, into the new relationship. So that's why transitions are so important. They are like a space between time, a portal, where you can do it in a more, it's not black and white. It's not like you're letting everything go and starting a complete new slate, because you're still bringing yourself and your past experiences and memories, whether good, hard, bad, ugly, beautiful, they are a part of you. It's just evolving into something new. So you don't want to leave it behind completely, but what you want to do is you want to, again, what I said earlier, you're drawing out the wisdom. You're letting go of what no longer serves you. You're bringing forward the wisdom and the teaching that is going to allow you to evolve into a wiser, more evolved version of yourself as you move into the new and next phase. But that in between is so important, because otherwise we just repeat the past, but in a new relationship or in a new house or in a new country, wherever you go, there you are. Or we don't allow ourselves to really fully move into the next present moment because we're still attached to an old moment, whether we're in denial about it or we're nostalgic about it. If we're holding on, it's really hard to move forward, because look, you think of it as like you're pulling on a rope that's attached to a pole in the past, right? And so you can only go so far. As long as the rope is going to be, you can only go that far. And after that, you're going to be held back. So let yourself be in the present moment and go through these things. What do I need to let go of? What do I need to grieve over in the letting go? What do I need to process so that I can really integrate what I've learned so that I can move forward? What are the teachings and the wisdom? And then you arrive to, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for within that experience? Again, doesn't matter if it was wonderful or terrible. What am I grateful for? And then it's like you're collecting all of the pieces that matter, and you're bringing it into your being, and then you're looking forward instead of backward. But in your looking forward, you're standing on 2 feet saying, okay, I'm here, I'm whole, I've collected all the fragments of myself. I'm in my own being. And then I can take step by step by step as I move forward into the new beginning. Now, part of the process of transition is as you move through these different emotions and different states of being and feelings, this is where the inner work is so important, because you're going to have to be there for yourself. You're going to have to soothe yourself. You're going to have to comfort yourself. You're going to have to encourage and inspire and motivate yourself. Right? So the nurturing and the comfort could come from the past, right? Letting go of processing the grief. It also could be about the anticipation and maybe the anxiety that comes and the fear that comes with moving into an unknown of the future. It could be that, like, wow, this takes a lot of effort to let go, or a lot of effort to move into the new, and you need to motivate yourself. All of it comes down to, what is your relationship with yourself? How do you move through your life with yourself? Are you paying attention? Are you there with love and compassion and patience? Are you listening? That is such a big thing. We often don't listen. And we've got to quieten ourselves enough, still ourselves enough to come back and just check in. Hey, how am I doing? How are all the various parts of me doing? What do I need? What is my higher self telling me? We have an amazing inner guidance system, but we have to be still enough to listen and be able to hear it without interference. And the mind can be a huge source of interference, right? It can go into all sorts of stories, both about the past and about the future. I love there is this like kind of hack that really works well the first time. Maybe the second time your mind will figure it out, but there's a really great hack where when you're sitting in meditation, I really am a believer of like come into your body and really just feel the sensations in your body and just be with that. But the mind sometimes can be really overpowering, right? So if your mind is really busy, you ask it, I wonder what my next thought will be. And just see what happens. It's very interesting. I'm not going to say anything about it, but it's very interesting. So yeah, the point is be with yourself. How are you relating with yourself as you're moving through these transitions? And I get that sometimes it's hard to be present with pain. It's hard to be present with discomfort, but I guarantee you that if you stay with it, you're going to move through the transition quicker and with greater ease, and you're going to be better prepared for what is to come because you're going to be walking into it whole. Not that we're not ever whole, but we fragment ourselves, which gives us the feeling that we're not whole. So what I mean by whole is you've included all parts of yourself because you're present with all parts of yourself and you're there to take care of yourself, take care of your needs, feel your feelings and give them what they need. And therefore, then you can move forward intact, whole, embodied, present. Does that make sense? And then when you're moving into something new, it could be a new relationship, could be a new place that you've moved to, could be a new job that you're starting. If you move into it with presence, things will come up because they're unknown. It's new territory, right? They will come up that might kind of surprise you. Ooh, how do I deal with that? If you go into it with presence, this is where you get to make a choice as to how you want to respond to it. And you get to make a choice to show up in a new, more evolved way. If you don't walk into it with presence and things come up and they surprise you, most likely they're going to scare you and trigger you and bring you back into patterns of your past. That's why awareness is fundamental to creating growth, change, and evolution. So any transition that you're moving through, it is like the perfect classroom for all of this. It's almost like where you go to review. And then you can see, okay, what parts don't work and I can let go of that. What parts do I need to evolve within myself? And then as you're evolving, it means letting go of a certain identity within you, and you're going to have to grieve it. Because for whatever reason, even if that part of you wasn't really serving you, a limiting belief, a certain behavior that was protecting you, that was a coping mechanism, even if it wasn't really serving you in the greater picture, it helped you for a particular time in your life, most likely in the past, but it was something that was familiar and you knew. So letting go of an identity is not always easy. So give yourself time, and it will take work, and just and just remember that you're worth the work. It doesn't matter how much work it takes. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It's worth it because you're worth it, and you're deserving of being at peace within yourself. So when change comes, and change could be really exciting, just know that it's a transition, and know that you might have to grieve, and know that our culture really likes to bypass any discomfort And so you're going to be going against the grain, and you may not have been taught how to do it, but really all you have to do is just be, stay, feel, listen, give yourself what you need. And then there's no rush. Move slowly, step by step by step. Wholeness comes from including all parts of yourself. So don't run away from parts of yourself. Don't numb, reject, distract, abandon parts of yourself. Include it and hold it all with love. And you'll be able to move through any transition. Because what gives us courage is knowing that, as you've heard me say so many times, no matter what you feel, think, or experience, you're going to be okay because you're there with yourself, for yourself, without judgment. Only love, compassion, forgiveness, patience, kindness. So welcome transition. Pay attention to it. It's a great teacher. And it's what's going to bridge your past into your future. It's going to be what heals and resolves your past so that you can step into the unknown of the future with joy, with presence, with let's see what comes. Let life surprise us. Let's not try to control it so much. Let life surprise us, and can we trust that it's all going to be okay? And maybe we're all held and taken care of more than we believe. So I'll leave it at that. Enjoy the transition. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you, and loving you from afar. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.